Hey, what's up? My name is Jonathan Fink, and I am the author of the Sports Card Collectors Club. And we're gonna create an audiobook today. We're gonna read chapter one of the Sports Card Collectors Club, beginning with the preface. In 2018, I published my first book, The Baseball Gods Are Real. The book was autobiographical and chronicled the first 42 years of my life. I discussed my love of baseball and many of the important events in my life, including a midlife crisis at the age of 38 that inspired me to explore a spiritual path. A few chapters in the book revealed how I transformed myself through the practice of yoga and meditation. In my next book series, The Music Gods Are Real, I took my readers along for the ride as I continued on my spiritual path, this time with music as my guide. After traveling the country and interviewing several recording artists along the way, I concluded that we are all musicians in a global orchestra. Everyone has a role and an instrument to play. As world religions and their followers increasingly find more common ground with each other, such as their love for music, humanity's orchestra will increasingly create harmonious music together. In my third book series, The Republic Baseball League, I introduce readers to my alter ego, Professor Kevin Dempsey. The Republic Baseball League tells the story of Kevin Dempsey, a college professor obsessed with baseball, and his quest to earn his PhD in economics. With inspiration from those who went before him, he used his research and the support of students, family, and friends to create the Republic Baseball League. Professor Dempsey is well known for his entertaining Twitter account, wearing baseball jerseys to class lectures, and collecting baseball cards. Truth be told, it was Professor Kevin Dempsey that inspired the writing of this book, The Sports Card Collectors Club. Introduction. In this book, I pay homage to my favorite pastime, collecting baseball cards. After giving up the hobby during the junk wax era in the late 1980s, I returned more than 3 decades later to one of my favorite childhood activities. As I traversed and embraced the profit-driven, modern-day hobby, I rekindled my passion for collecting sports cards. If you enjoy collecting baseball, football, basketball, ice hockey, soccer, or even tennis sports cards, this book was written for you. Chapter 1. The Intrinsic Value of Something. Even though I have written more than a dozen books since 2017, my career as an author has always been secondary to my 20-plus year career as a financial advisor. I spent 13 years working at Morgan Stanley before leaving to start my own asset management firm called Satya Investment Management. Long before I began investing other people's money for a living, buying and selling stocks was my hobby. My interest in investing in the stock market began in high school with a make-believe investment firm called Fink. I was sitting on my bed on Halyard Drive in Merrick, New York, listening to music on my 17th birthday when my parents walked into my room and handed me an envelope with a card that read, "Happy Birthday." I opened up the large manila envelope and pulled out what looked like a certificate of some kind. My dad said, "Scooter, happy birthday. You now own 10 shares of the Gap." I was a bit confused with this gift, as it was just a piece of paper, not a personal check that I could cash in, or something tangible, like a video game. It turns out that this unique birthday gift was something much better. The days of toys and games were clearly over. In fact, my parents rarely bought me a physical birthday gift again. They simply gifted me shares of stock from their fictitious investment bank called Fink. My dad explained that he, like the greatest investors of all time, such as Warren Buffett and Peter Lynch, then of popular mutual fund called the Fidelity Magellan Fund, invested in what he knew. He told me, "So you shop and buy your clothes at the Gap, and you like that brand? Well, you now own 10 shares of that company, which represents a small ownership in that corporation. As the company makes more money, the Gap stock price will go up. Down the road, if you ever want to cash in your 10 shares of Gap stock, you can sell it back to us and we'll give the cash to you. Or even better, you can use the proceeds from your sale of Gap stock to buy shares of a different company that interests you." My dad explained how to look up the price of all the stocks listed on the New York Stock Exchange in the Wall Street Journal and suggested that I keep track of the Gap share price every day. Over the years, my parents gifted me shares of stock from many different types of companies, such as Intel, IBM, and Cisco Systems. I read the Wall Street Journal every day, first to look up the stock prices, but then I found myself reading other articles and having lots of questions for my dad. My dad may have been an attorney and an accountant by trade, but he understood the capital markets very well. These days, when my son asks me a question and I don't know the answer, I just Google it. My dad always knew the answers. Even to this day, my father can rip off baseball statistics from memory, including pitchers' earned run average numbers from specific seasons in the 1950s. My dad took mentoring me seriously. When I was in college, he regularly mailed me stacks of articles to read. The articles had questions on the edges of the pages, and there would be certain things underlined and other passages highlighted in yellow. At the end of the page, it always read, "Hi, Scooter. Let's discuss. I love you, Dad." So, while I very much enjoyed my years in the music industry, the seeds of my career in investment management were planted long ago. During my college years at Tulane University, I was a political science major, and I really enjoyed learning about global politics and history. Mark Twain was surely correct when he said, "History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes." When I applied my political science background to my interest in global macroeconomics, I began to see the capital markets from a different perspective, which impacted my future investment management style. Before college, I looked at companies from a bottom-up investment perspective, which means I focused on metrics like earnings growth and the price-to-earnings ratio. However, after I completed my college education, I began looking at the world from a top-down perspective, seeing things more holistically. From a top-down approach, I focused more on metrics like global interest rates, currency markets, and country-to-country demand for commodities. Investing had always been a hobby, but it was not until I attended business school and earned my master's in business administration that I seriously considered starting a career in investment management. Even though my wife Reggie and I were still living on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, I started calling investment firm branches north of Manhattan in Westchester County, a place where we eventually wanted to live. I called a Morgan Stanley branch in Mount Kisco, New York, and asked to speak with the branch manager. Surprised when he picked up the phone to talk with me, I said, "Mr. Babyak, I would like to be a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley and work for you at your branch in Mount Kisco, New York. Can we schedule a time to meet in person?" Mr. Babyak replied, "Jonathan, anyone who's willing to cold call for his job is someone I'd like to meet. Please hold for my assistant." Well, I am forever grateful to Andy Babyak and Morgan Stanley for giving me a chance and providing me with an opportunity of a lifetime. I was a short guy in a suit and suspenders, looking no more than 20 years old, cold calling entertainment executives and corporate attorneys, asking for a chance to manage their money. I worked day and night and spent many late evenings at people's offices and kitchen tables helping sort out their financial lives, creating financial plans, and building customized investment portfolios. I really enjoyed meeting new people and helping them try to reach their financial goals. I particularly enjoyed the portfolio management side of the business, like keeping track of baseball game box scores, player statistics, and league standings. I love tracking investment performance and reviewing the holdings in all my client accounts. As my clients earned excellent investment returns, referrals kept coming in. For many years, I focused on buying stocks for my clients in tobacco companies, defense companies, oil companies, agricultural companies, and precious metals. It was holding a gold coin in my hand for the first time that really got me thinking in terms of intrinsic value. A gold coin could be used as currency, like paper money. But unlike paper money, which is just a piece of paper with little utility, the gold coin can be melted down and used for several commercial purposes, from jewelry to silverware to even tooth fillings. Thus, gold has intrinsic value. In business school at UMKC, I attended several financial and investment-related classes. In these classes, we learned that companies can have intrinsic value as well. In business school, we studied that the current stock price of a company's shares trading in the market is not always a good reflection of the company's intrinsic value. Stocks can become overvalued or undervalued because the price of the shares are subject to the whims of the market. Not only can you determine the intrinsic value of a stock, you can also use it to search for the best bargains in the market. Knowing an investment's intrinsic value is useful, especially if you're a value investor with the goal of buying stocks or other investments at a steep discount. Some financial analysts believe the best way to measure a company's intrinsic value is the discounted cash flow formula. Intrinsic value is defined to be the present value of all expected future net cash flows to the company. Another way to measure the intrinsic value of a company is by studying their balance sheet. This is where you can find the company's assets, such as property, plant, and equipment. In valuing real estate, a similar approach may be used. The intrinsic value of real estate is therefore defined as the net present value of all future net cash flows from rent or income generated by the property, such as farmland that produces crops or an oil field that pumps natural gas into a pipeline. There are, however, alternative assets that do not produce a monthly cash flow, like a rental apartment, nor have intrinsic value, like a farm filled with corn crops, yet are worth millions of dollars. These are the collectibles. Collectibles fall into two main categories: items with intrinsic value and items without intrinsic value. Collectibles with intrinsic value are objects where the value is derived from their physical properties or the materials of which they consist, such as items made from precious metals or rare gems and stones. Collectibles without intrinsic value are those whose worth is connected to their cultural or historical significance and their rarity or popularity among collectors, such as comic books, stamps, vintage toys, vinyl records, and art. Investing in art has long been appealing to certain investors, particularly high net worth families. Buying the work of up-and-coming artists could pay off handsomely down the road, while holding a historic painting of a well-known artist may hold or increase in value over time. Art, such as a painting, has no intrinsic value because it doesn't generate cash flow for its owner, and at its core is basically just paint and a piece of paper. A painting's value is purely based on what someone else is willing to pay for it, which can fluctuate greatly depending on market conditions and opinions about the artist at any given moment in time. The entire collectibles market was estimated to surpass $1 trillion by 2032, according to a 2023 report from Market Decipher. Within that $1 trillion market of collectibles is the $1 billion sports card market. When it comes to the intrinsic value of sports cards, there is simply the piece of cardboard that is used to make it. The cost of that piece of cardboard paper is 15 cents. And yet, at a recent auction, Mickey Mantle's 1952 Topps rookie card was sold for a whopping $12.6 million. Back in the old days, and even through the 1980s, these 15-cent pieces of cardboard were packaged and sold in wax paper wrapped packs, which were then sealed with a hot roller. The nickname for these sealed packs of sports cards was the Wax Pack. End of chapter 1. Do it again soon. Chapter 2 coming up next. You guys take care. God bless.
This month, we have some great sports card stories from across the U.S. and talk to an author from nearby Leawood, Kansas, who has written a book about returning to collecting after 3 decades away.
My day job is I'm a financial advisor, so I've been investing for over 20 years. In a way to express my love for the hobby, I decided, what if I write an investment book, Sports Card Collectors Club, and treat the stock market the same way I would treat the card market. And so I thought, well, how would a day trader invest in cards? How would a venture capitalist buy and sell cards? How would a hedge fund do it? As I would go through my trials and tribulations, I realized that for as much fun as I was having investing, there was something missing. And one day I was watching the Royals game on television, and it was a rain delay. And the Card Life television show came on. I was watching that episode, I was watching Matt Strom open cards and rip packs, and I started getting the warm, fuzzy feeling. I said, this is what I want to be doing. I want to get back to really collecting and ripping cards and building sets. And that's where the story of my book has changed. I go from investing back to collecting.
I'll also open a variety of boxes from different sports. So he hit the home run off me in like the 7th inning. And then in the 8th inning, JT hit a double, so he's standing on second. And Mason Wynn asked him, he's like, hey JT, he's like, I heard Strom collects cards of guys that take him deep. He's like, does that mean he's gonna send me over a couple cards to sign tomorrow? And after the game, we had won. I mean, winning is the only thing that's important to me. So it's like, I was good after the game, whatever, and JT comes up to me and he's like, hey Stromy, he was really genuine. Like he wasn't taking shots. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, when I got to second, Mason asked if you're gonna send a card over for him.
I'm just looking around my basement here, just walls covered with concert posters and toys, and just like, I have no intention of selling these things. I collect because I want to show off the things I love and do it in fun ways. And it just never crossed my mind that, hey, I'm going to go buy this thing just so I can resell it. Like that to me isn't a pure collector mentality. And obviously things change and times change. And, in order for things to survive right now, you have to have that sort of chase for something valuable.
Yeah, it needs to be a circus. You know what? The truth is, I actually watched the live stream on eBay Live with Ken Golden and Logan Paul. They ripped a box of 86 Flair and a box of Series 1 Pokemon. And you know what? It was very entertaining. They're both polarizing characters. I thought it was entertaining. But you know what? After every pull, they immediately are showing the value. And it begs the question, are we creating, not we, is the industry creating a gambling culture which has a real downside?
It already has. Right. Not created. It's here.
Yeah, and that's a concern. I guess for me, I hope to be an influence where we focus more on collecting, because you know what, when markets crash, collectors don't get hurt at all. Because the Sandy Koufax you bought that because it makes you feel good. It brings back good memories.
Said this one traded for my first big win. Jonathan Fink on the line tonight.
You have created community, so let's talk about that. I went to Rip Night at your shop. Let's rip another pack. And I went to your Rip Night 2 years ago, and it was one of the best. I wrote about it in volume 1. It was one of the best times I've ever had. You guys had this giant scoreboard where you had the chase cards, and everyone can buy whatever product you wanted, like buy 3, get 1 free, whatever product, whatever it was. You then, if you pull a Bronny James, you then get another blaster. Or I pulled a Reed Shepherd auto, and then I got a free T-shirt. And I sat around the table with strangers and had the best time ever. So let's talk about how important community is. And what you guys do is provide an anchor for community in our town. How important that is.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, one of our taglines, we say we'll make an offer on anything, but like you said, I mean, we got to pay what it's worth. And so if it's junk wax, it's going to be junk wax prices, which unfortunately, a lot of people end up thinking that their 87 Topps Barry Bonds is going to be a couple $100.
It's worth nothing, people.
Brand and notoriety. And so when you're pitching these stories to these athletes, like I've reached out to a couple of different athletes about writing a potential article about their collections and having them kind of share their story. And it's like, yes, like I write for collectibles on SI, which is under the Sports Illustrated umbrella. It does carry weight. Like it does, people recognize that brand. It is important. And so I'm super grateful that I've been given the opportunity to write for that staff.
The top segment that was done by you on you was so well produced, right? Did all that come from the conversation you had with Michael Rubin? Is that how that put you on the map to such an extent that all those opportunities happened? How did that happen? Did you get a call one day?
Said this one traded for my first big win. Jonathan Fink on the line tonight with a pack in hand and a story that bites.
I didn't even collect when I was 3 years old, like when this card came out, but oh, he just pulled a good one. Roman Anthony, from Dempsey. I love Wichita State.
Yeah.
I would have been thrilled if he went to Tulane, but his parents have roots in Nebraska. So for him, it was coming home. And so Nebraska got a good one. And so I'm not surprised that program's on the rise because they got a great stadium. They have great resources. They got a great fan base with people like you. And their recruiting is fantastic. They're finding the talented kids. So
yeah, in fact,
the Big Ten.
So yeah, Will Bolt, the head coach, he actually played at Nebraska when I was traveling with the Nebraska team in the late '90s. He was down at Texas A&M when I worked at Texas A&M. Rob Childress is the pitching coach, and I was on the hiring committee that hired him away from Nebraska to come down at Texas A&M, and they're thrilled that he's back here in Nebraska. He's a genius. The number of players in pro ball right now that went through Rob Childress, so he'll be under good guidance when he gets up here to Nebraska. They're good people.
One kid found a mantle in the rain. One old friend came back with the same old chain.
Talk to me about the reaction of the players, the other players, when they see this bat putter. Are they flipping out? They freak out when they see it?
And they see it and they're like, they just stop. Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
So the reason why I asked that question is because I had that experience literally yesterday. So when I first got the bat putter, I think I bought it 6 months ago, and it's customized for the Republic Baseball League, which is so cool. And now that I realize, now that I love it so much, and I got to use it yesterday, I'm like, I got to start buying them for different people. Like anyone's a guest on my show, they're gonna get a bat putter, okay? Yeah. But the point is, I never use it because I thought it was too sacred to me. I keep it in my office like a sacred shrine. It means so much to me. But then I was like, after watching all these videos and stuff, I'm like, you know what? There's this indoor amazing place in Kansas City called Tap-Ins. Okay, they have an outdoor putt, but also indoor. And depending on the weather, the whole thing, it's an amazing atrium, and it's become a successful business. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? That's a perfect. It was a hot day. I'm like, it's a perfect thing to do. So my buddy Paul Greenwood, who I featured in my first book, we went and played around. And when I showed up with this bat putter, people were freaking out. They were literally losing their minds, and that's when I realized. So then, by the way, it was a Sunday, middle of the day, hot as heck. I want to see how it gets made, but you probably do actually.
I want to see if there's quality control testers there.
But attention! If anyone in the tops is watching, Grip and Rip we want to get invited to a tour at a factory. The two of us.
I told them I would work for free.
Right.
I would work absolutely free. I want to see how their stuff's made.
Yeah, I'm curious. But collation is like I'm sure there's a bunch of engineers that sit around and design
Got some breaking news for you.
Yeah?
Slab just texted me.
No way. What'd he say?
Looks like this is the first year to hear it. Who is that? Right. Let me see here.
Breaking news. Grip and Rip, breaking news.
Oh, U.S. agent. Okay, so I just got told that the finest mega boxes are going to be really, really, really good.
Oh, interesting.
1.6 numbered cards a box. So you're guaranteed one numbered card with a 60% chance to pull a second numbered card.
Wow,
and
interesting.
Autos are 1 in 3.
Whoa. So do you think that Topps decided to go big because this is their first year with Topps Finest in retail?
I'm going to say yes. Yes.
Right? Because
I do think so.
You usually get so upset with the delayed numbers, they're delaying them. Or maybe, by the way, I don't know if it's a conspiracy that the odds are coming out later. I just think that maybe they're just not as efficient as they used to be.
You might have watched this game back
I'm sure I did.
Currently,
Derek Coleman. Yeah, he was on my fantasy team for sure.
Pretty crazy to think, in the future you would be able to collect that moment that you watched.
Right. And by the way, check that out. It's worth $198 versus the ones that are worth 35 cents because it makes sense. Because the same way that you value your 1964 Willie Mays card, you're going to value your Drazen Petrovic, and you're not going to want to give it up unless
Yeah.
it's for a very, very good price because you love that memory. And what's wild is the same way that you get the warm, fuzzy feeling with dopamine hit, whatever, when you look at a card on your shelf, it's the same thing. But when you're online at the bank, you don't have your cards with you, Paulie, but you do have your phone, and you can pull up your Drazen Petrovic and pay respect to him and watch a couple of his awesome plays that give you the warm fuzzies because you can. It's wild. And so